to Studio Visit, Coffee is Sacred, Part 5, and we are finally getting to the part of painting that I enjoy the most. So I have blocked off my composition, and I have everything measured. I kind of have the basic form of my painting kind of set. So the really difficult technical part for me is pretty much finished. And now I can just focus on, enjoying myself, putting down color, being really expressive, focusing on, my movement, the uh, expression of the paint, how I'm laying it down, just kind of being really loose with it. So this is kind of the fun part. So you're going to hear that past Chris is going to be a lot quieter in this episode. And that's because, I'm super focused. And yeah, I'm not super good at narrating while working, which is kind of why I'm doing it all in post. That wasn't the plan. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with these coffee cherries. They have such a variety of color in them. So I was able to use a lot of reds and oranges and greens and yellows. Yeah, I'm digging this red. When I paint, I'm usually aiming more for a more saturated, exaggerated, deeper version of a color more than an accurate version of the color. Our eyes are pretty good at making sense out of things and figuring out space and value without having things to be super accurate. We can tell. That's why cartoons are awesome because they're just super saturated. And I'm not really showing it in this series. I don't think the camera's just not situated right. But I'm using photos for references in this painting, obviously, because I can't afford to fly down to Honduras over and over to reference or pay a farmer to hold the exact same branch of coffee cherries for reference. Maybe one day in the future, if I ever sell a painting, I'll be able to do that. But for now, I'm just using photos, and it works for me. It's pretty helpful. I usually print a black and white version of the photo to start off with, just so I can figure out all the shades and really have, I guess, another perspective, because sometimes the colors do distract um, from certain elements of the painting, how it's going to look under light, how it's going to look with all the texture involved. So just starting off with uh, uh, black and white just to figure out my shades is great. And then when I get into the color, I'm using a color reference, but at the same time, I'm not holding super true to the colors that I'm seeing on uh, on that on that photo that I'm using. It's more like there's suggestions of color. Something that I've always liked about abstract painting
Hmm.
is
Okay.
it's the colors and the shapes and the gestures used. It's all your imagination. It's
I'm an
all
orange.
your idealized version of what reality should look like. And I think I kind of put that into these representative paintings that I use. I'm using colors, but I'm focusing more on what would represent the meaning that I'm trying to convey more than the accurate depiction. So these cherries are very important because they kind of represent the whole network that I am interested in, the network of this commodity and its rawest form. So I really want the cherries to almost pulsate and really stand out. And to me, the hand is more of a connection. It's the human connection to this commodity. And so I'm really focusing on more
Orange is
neutral,
tricky because it kind of pulls the brown
warm,
very
not so much
easily.
electric colors.
With oil
And so that's
paint,
kind of my thinking behind all that.
just gotta make sure your
And so yeah,
palette knife is
these
super clean.
cherries are gonna use some really rocking colors. And it's kind of funny, in art school, you know, uh, I was interested in both painting and installation art, so I ended up taking a lot of life drawing classes. And in those classes, the instructor, professor, uh, they would try to communicate this idea that the being able to paint or draw from this real life breathing moving person in the room, where you can kind of see all kinds of different facets, is the most ideal way to draw or paint. And yeah, like I love having a live reference, but it really depends on what your intentions are for the painting. If you're really interested in you know this 3D space and depicting it on like this two-dimensional plastic plane, then yeah, for sure, like that's the way to go. But if you're really looking to focus on the materiality, the material, the colors, textures of like what a painting can be, the 3D aspect, the reference of the 3D, it's not as important, right? So really, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's more important to be aware of what your intentions are than to kind of have any steady rules of like what is the perfect reference or environment for creating a painting. There isn't like a perfect or an ideal or like the right way. You can't see, but I got my little finger quotations up right there when I said right, because yeah, it's all about how you want the ideas you're thinking of, what you want people to notice, what you want other people to think of. That's more important than how you get from A to Z.
Okay. Start with my orangiest bits. Just to really
So those really deep red cherries, they're super ripe. And now, right behind it, I'm moving to a less ripe cherry. And so it has a lot more orange and yellow in it. And, kind of going back to the reference, it's a lot more subtle, like these color shifts in the, original photo. But because, I'm kind of aware of like the difference between, like something that's really ripe and something that's not, I'm choosing to like really create different colors. And you can't. Oh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, sure you can tell. You can tell that that's a lot more orange. And I'm gonna really get into like this idea of like exaggerating color to kind of show like different readiness and ripenesses of the berries. You know, as I kind of get more into this painting.
Okay. work on the green berries a bit. Now, my underpainting kind of has all the berries. It's like this kind of reddish orangey color. Because even the greens kind of show off this like little warmth to it. That's okay. The greens are super pale too. And green coffee berries kind of look like pale olives. So really try to make that happen. I'll have to buy some more yellow in a bit. Reserve, and off we go.
Yeah, this is a pretty like out there green that I'm using right now. It's I don't think it like actually exists in nature. So it's pretty. I feel like Play-Doh-y looking to me, but I really like the color, and it's not like the final green. I'm gonna put layers of other bits of color over this that'll really like ground it in there, but as kind of like a basey or green that's kind of gonna like show out here and there. It's gonna be like fire.
There's a lot of texture right here. It's gonna mix some colors. Kind of make up for it. Whew. So that's where I'm at for color. Oh. Start working on some tonal stuff. Okay. Now that I'm kind of at the end of this painting session, I'm going to work on my super dark values. Dark paint and
yeah, I like using black. It's it's not for everyone um, in their paintings, but I I really like high contrast. Another reason why at the beginning of my paintings I usually like to look at a black and white version of the painting, also just to check to kind of see if the contrast levels are there. I don't like things feeling really kind of like overly blown out or unsaturated. So I like to make sure that my painting has really uh, a really wide array of shades, and I like just laying down the darkest blacks wherever I can, and it also helps me see the painting holistically. If instead of just finishing off the cherries or finishing off the hand, which you know a lot of painters would prefer, and seeing another painter like flip around back and forth. Uh, oh, what did I say?
When I have a lot area to cover, sometimes I'll just
See, this is what I'm talking about. Old mumbly me in the past is trying to kind of just say what I've been telling you the last minute, but terribly. So yeah, I'm just trying to cover this area so I can really see how the painting's going to be holistically. Some people want to kind of just focus on an element, get that super right, then move on to the other element. But me, I don't know if it's just the way I see things, the way my brain works, but if I do that, and I think it's also because I like to screw around with color a little too much, I push one element way out, and then when I try to, have it cohesively come together with another element, if I don't kind of do them all kind of at the same time, one just looks way out of there. It's almost like I cut something out of a magazine and just pasted it on. It doesn't fit with the rest of the painting. So I have to kind of hit something, go somewhere else, come back, all over the place. Really ADHD like, but that's kind of the best way that I can get the results that I'm looking for.
problem with that is I don't like things to look too black. Or too black too much. It looks too flat. You got something pretty large. It becomes a little more boring if it's too flat.
So I'm just going to kind of clear up what past Chris is trying to say with his terrible narration. So basically, all the black in this painting, it's too much, too much of the same black. Even with all the texture going on, it's feeling a little flat to me. And yeah, it's something that you notice, as you're working through something, especially if it's not something that you churn out over and over every week. So it's a problem I'm gonna figure out. Probably not, in the next 10 minutes. I'll probably end this episode before that, so that's something to look forward to in the future. But yeah, it's something that happens a lot. The the painting kind of goes
There we
one
go.
way, and
Wah.
you're gonna have to do some problem solving. So I think that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I'm gonna take a seat, relax a bit, just stare at the painting, figure out, you know, what needs to be done, what can I change, what can I do to kind of make this, a better painting.
Nope.
Yeah, looks like I took a bit of a spill there, but the ever professional that I am, get back up and keep painting. You know, that's how you do it. No, I'm not sure what I tripped over. It is kind of a tiny little studio, so I probably just like tripped over my own foot.
So there's a lot of dry coffee over here, and right now it looks pretty smooth, but when this paint dries, it's actually going to conform to the little bumps. We're going to get not just the strokes, but also the texture of the coffee coming through. So there's going to be kind of two motions playing at the same time. It's going to look nice in that area. Well, for me at least.
Past Chris has a point here. Uh, this is something that you can't really see in a picture or video. When you take a picture of a painting, it's like flat on flat. So a lot of the texture and even the brush strokes of the actual painting you're not going to see in the video or a picture. You have to see it live. It's one of the great things about going to a gallery and seeing facets of a painting that you just can't see in a magazine or on the internet nowadays. So yeah, there's a lot of texture from the coffee that you're just not going to see. I mean, if I take some macro shots, I can show bits of it, but really it's, you're basically, uh, looking at like, pieces of a puzzle that's kind of like splayed about when you're looking at macro shots. So your mind has to be like really great at pattern recognition if you're going to take those and like apply it to the over holistic painting, which is why it's nice to see these things live. And that pretty much does it for this episode. We'll come back, we'll see some more progress on this painting, and yeah, I'll have something new up next week. So until then.